All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. This is DFS Army's tournament strategy show where typically we look at last night's slate, but we're not going to do that. It was a crappy two-gamer. Don't feel like doing it. And also, we didn't have a show yesterday because it was a crappy two-gamer. So anyway, we're back today where we'll talk through potential leverage plays, guys we like. We'll go game by game, do the whole breakdown. And then, of course, pre-lock show will be at 5:30 p.m. when we will talk through the execution, and Brandon will be there for that as well. Speaking of, how are you doing, Brandon? How's life treating you?
Not too bad. Ready to dive into this huge slate. It's looking like another one where we're gonna have to stomach some risky value plays. So it would be interesting for sure.
Yep, another one of those. Jay, what's up, man? We'll get there. We'll talk about him. Thomas Dye, what's up? Phil said, "What's up?" In the words of Beat Up, I like Donovan Mitchell. Yeah,
Y'all are
you
starting to get
already
to
know,
know me
man.
really well.
You already know. What's up, Dixon? Hope all is good. Man, I can't with you, Phil. All right. Like you said, we have a lot of games on slate, not a lot of time to waste time. So let's just jump right into it. First game on the slate, we have the Utah Jazz going up against the Celtics. I'll be honest with you, Brandon. For me, this was a pretty easy just pass and move on. There weren't any Jazz that really stood out for me. There's also no injury news here either that I'm looking at. Do you feel differently, though?
Yeah, this team isn't really jumping out and definitely won't be a priority. However, I will be fine if Clarkson shows up in the mix. It's kind of hard to ignore the form he's in right now. And just in early runs, I am getting around 8%. So if that stays when we get closer to lock, then I'll be completely fine with it. And Kessler was another one I was kind of considering too, where I definitely won't make him a priority or try to force him in my lines, but I'm okay if he shows up a bit too. But yeah, overall, this team won't be a priority tonight in this matchup.
No, I like that Jordan Clarkson call. Ideally, he won't be that chalky today. We don't have ownership yet. But if he's not chalky, this matchup isn't great. But the sim model likes him a good bit, way more than really anyone else in his price range. And we all know I put a good amount of value on that. You mentioning him and the sim model liking him, I'm probably going to force a little bit of exposure there at this point. So that's a good call out. And I think Kessler, John Collins, Kelly O, they're all viable options, but I'm just not going to make them a priority. Next up, we have the Boston Celtics. The only piece of injury news we have here is Al Horford being questionable, probably not going to play, probably going to rest tonight. What's your game plan here, Brandon?
So I think Jaylen Brown stands out the most for me at 8K. I love that price on him, and this matchup is really good. So I'll probably have a decent amount of him compared to everybody else here. And then as far as Porzingis and Tatum, those are two guys I wouldn't mind taking some shots on as well, just due to the matchup. I know the spread is very high and concerning, but I usually don't let that affect my decisions when us like studs are in a good spot. So Jaylen Brown a priority, and I don't mind throwing in Porzingis and Tatum in the mix.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think the game total is still nice at 238.5. The spread is concerning. You have to realize that that is an actual, there's a very realistic possibility that this game blows out. But like you said, I don't play for blowouts. I play for upside. And this is a high upside spot for a good amount of the Celtics. The only guys I'm looking at forcing exposure to, though, depending on ownership, that will shape where I really fall here. But if Brown or Tatum are low owned, I'm interested in them. Porzingis, same story. Those are really the only three I'm looking at as potential plays. I think Derek White is interesting, but he's not standing out too much for me yet on this slate. But I do like this team more than I expect most of the field will. So I like the Celtics in a really good pace up spot for them. Dixon, yeah, you're right. Like especially if you're playing single entry, I don't know how you guys can possibly do that because there's way too many games. But for me, MMEing, it's a little bit easier to feel like I can pick and choose my spots a little bit more. Darius J, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Glad you're able to make it. Let's see. Moving on. Like I said, I like this game. We both like this game, but the spread is a little scary. So I don't expect any core plays to come from the Jazz or Celtics, but I like having some exposure to a few of those guys. Now we have the game of the slate, at least for me, highest total by a long shot and a nice spread. We have the Hawks going up against the Pacers. We saw this game not too pretty recently. Who do you like here, Brandon? There's not, of course, there's DeAndre Hunter out. He's been out for a little bit now, so not really any crazy injury news here.
So definitely we'll start with the obvious, Trae Young, and if his ownership is low, he's definitely going to be a leverage play for me again. This matchup is just too good, and I like that price, 10.1K. He can definitely pay that off in this environment. So love Trae tonight. Jalen Johnson has been super solid since coming back in. The fact that Hunter is still out just makes me like him even more. So I definitely have a good amount of him tonight. And I still think he's at a good price as well for how he's been playing. Bogdan, not Bohan. I'll be okay getting some of him. He's usually not somebody I prioritize. Maybe if he was like a little cheaper in that 5K range, he'd be more of a priority. But he's a guy I'm okay with showing in the mix, and I would expect DeJounte to be low on as well. And another guy was cheaper. I think this is like the third or fourth game in a row where he's the same exact price at 7,700. But it's a good game environment, so definitely don't mind trying to get some leverage on him as well. So yeah, Trae Young, Jalen will be my top priorities, and then a mixture of Bog, even Bay, and Murray I'd be okay with.
Yeah, I think Trae Young and Jalen Johnson will probably be super chalk on this slate. Within reason, it is a pretty large slate. I just expect them both. I think Jalen Johnson will probably definitely be probably above 20% or more. Trae Young at least above 10%. I plan on at least matching the field on Trae Young and Jalen Johnson, but I'll be totally comfortable having way more exposure than that if need be. Again, highest game total, nice spread. These are type of games I like forcing exposure to when needed. And then, like you mentioned, Brandon, I like Murray here. I expect him to have lower ownership than the rest of the guys on the Hawks. He's been super consistent this season, but he's been lacking upside. We've seen plenty of like 35, 40-point performances, not as much 50, 60. We need that 50, 60-point performance to feel really good here, but I think that he definitely has potential for that. A little sad seeing what's happened to Murray from being the guy to just a guy.
Yep.
Anyone else you want to mention here? Did you have any interest in Capella, Bay seeing more consistent minutes?
Bay I would be okay with getting a little bit of, but won't be a priority. And I just can't get to Capella tonight. A bunch of other center options, and the way they play Okongwu too, I'm not paying 6,700 for him.
Yep, I agree. All right, next up we have the Pacers. For the Pacers tonight, Bruce Brown is questionable. Nembhard is questionable. So that does complicate things a little bit here for a team that's already pretty complicated. Who are you trying to prioritize for the Pacers?
Looks like we might be on the same page here, but really it's Hallie and Turner for me. I'm going to have a crap ton of Hallie tonight. We say it all the time, love to pick on Trae. And then we've seen bigs be successful against this Atlanta team as well. And I like the price on Turner. So those would be my top two priorities. And one other guy I mentioned, but he's conditional, and that's if Nembhard is out again. I think we can throw McConnell in the mix. But at the moment, if everybody is playing and healthy, then, yeah, just Hallie and Turner for me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Exactly. I like Halliburton and Turner here. I'll force exposure to them if they're not showing up enough for me. Then outside of that, if everyone's healthy, I'm just not excited about them. It wouldn't shock me if one of them go off, but it's literally a dart throw for me. So if it's a dart throw, I'm rarely going to take a shot on it unless someone's just extremely low owned. Yeah, Darius, exactly. Like from Batman to Robin real fast. Is that what Trae does to people? Oh, okay, never mind. That's going down a bad train record we don't need to do. All right, next up we have the Thunder going up against the Nets. Another team that's healthy, but they're going up against a Nets team that has not been good this year. Do you have interest in the Thunder tonight, Brandon?
Mainly just SGA. He's like playing MVP level basketball so far this season, and still a good price on him. So depending on his ownership, I'm willing to go over the field in that spot. Chet, I was considering, but like I mentioned, there's just way too many centers I want to get to tonight, and I'm not sure if I'll make him a priority. And these other guys are really hard to get to as well, especially Giddy and the way his minutes have been fluctuating. He's super hard to trust. So looking like it's just shade for me here.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that everyone was super high on Giddy last time out. I know we played him the game before last, but it seems like he was a little over owned, at least in my opinion, on the back end of a back to back. I think in this spot where he should be lower owned after that disappointing performance, I think Giddy's interesting as a potential guy I want to have some leverage on tonight. Like you mentioned, his minutes are all over the place, but I do expect that he will I do expect that he has some upside at 5,900, and he'll probably see around 26 to 27 minutes here. Last game, he was on the back end of a back-to-back. He saw less minutes, and that just made total sense. So ideally, his minutes will be back on track tonight. Not an awful matchup for him, so I like it. Dixon, yeah. Let's see. Grayson said you still have the 2023 banner on. It's 2024. Is it not? Am I seeing things? Am I delusional, Grayson? Do you see 2024, Brandon?
I see 2024.
Grayson,
It might
man.
just be like an ongoing joke or something now.
It might be, but like Grayson said it. I think OG said it yesterday in the pre-lock show. I think y'all just trying to get at me for something. I don't know what I did to y'all. You're trying to get at me. Next up, we have the Nets, who are healthy, and I don't like these guys. I'm not playing them. Are you?
Probably not. The only thing that keeps piquing my interest, and he has really been in bad form, so I really shouldn't go there. But Mikal Bridges at 7,100 just seems like too cheap. But I know it's that cheap just because of the form he's been in. But yeah, as a whole, this team is hard to play at the moment.
Oh, okay. It must say 2023 somewhere else in the thumbnail. I'll have to look at it. But okay, the banner says 2024 though, so at least the banner's right. The thumbnail might say 2023 on
Yeah,
it
I see
or
what they're
something.
talking about now.
Okay, yeah. So I'll have to look at that. But anyway, at least the banner is good. Thank you. Thank you. Oh crap. Now it says 2022. We're going backwards, man. We're going backwards. All right, we'll get it fixed. But yeah, I'm not looking at the Nets tonight. Pretty easy for me. All right, next up we have the Knicks going up against the Sixers. Similar spot. I mean, I always think Randall and Brunson are viable. This team's they haven't lost ever since OG has joined the team, so they've been in pretty good form. But I'm not making them a priority for me on this slate. The Knicks are also pretty healthy. Mitchell Robinson's out, but he's been out for a while now, so that's not really anything too crazy. Malachi Flynn is questionable, but that also doesn't move the needle for me too much. Do you feel differently here? I know you usually like taking some shots on Randall and Brunson.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm most likely gonna do my usual 5 to 10% on Randall and Brunson. They both have been super consistent this season and have great upside. So I'm willing to play those two, and rest of this team won't be a priority for me tonight.
Yep, love it. All right, moving on. We have the Sixers going up against the Knicks. For the Sixers tonight, Robert Covington is questionable. Korkmaz is questionable. Melton is out. He's been out for a little while now. Brandon, is anyone standing out here for you?
Definitely gonna take a shot on Embiid. I'm okay with matching the field at 5%, even 10%. Just the way he's been playing, he like smashes pretty much every game now, so he's like automatic. So I'm okay with going there. Maxi is a bit interesting at 8,500, but not sure if I'll force him in yet or not. I'll kind of think on him before we get to lock, and then I don't think I can play anybody else here.
Yeah, I need Maxi to score more than 30 points. He did score 55 against Houston on the 29th of December, but my guy's been struggling here lately. I might wait for a softer matchup. I don't think this is the right spot for him. You're right, though. Joel Embiid is matchup proof. He's relatively low owned at around 5% ownership. I like being over on Joel tonight, so he's another guy I like. But outside of that, I don't like this team. So far, the only team I've really liked, or the only game I liked, is this Hawks-Pacer game. The rest of the pieces, just not a fan of it. But things get a little bit more interesting going up with the Wizards going up against Cleveland. For the Wizards, they are relatively healthy. Let me just double check that. Shamit's out, but that doesn't really move anything for me. Are you playing the Wizards tonight, Brandon?
Yeah, I'm probably going to take another shot on Kuzma. He was doing okay last game. He kind of fell off towards the end, and then, of course, all the starters sat in the fourth, so I don't mind going back to him. And actually, a guy I'm keeping in mind here and will be a viable value piece for me tonight is Delon Wright. Shamit is out, like you just mentioned. So with that in play, I'm willing to take some shots on Wright tonight. So it's mainly Kuz and Wright for me.
Mm-hmm. And I know Tyus Jones used to be your guy before Donovan Mitchell. Did you give him any thought?
I'm okay if he shows up a little bit. Like right now, he's at 5% in my early run, so I'm fine with that. But definitely not someone I want to have a lot of tonight.
Yeah, Darius, you're right. We totally just skipped over Kelly O. Do you have any interest in Kelly today?
Not really, to be honest. I probably won't have any tonight.
Yeah, same here. Not trying to force it. And then for me with the Wizards, just because Kuzma's low owned in a game with a decent total, I'll probably take a shot just like you, Brandon. But I'm not excited about it. Tyus Jones is seeing some ownership. I'm assuming it's because he's relatively cheap and we don't have a lot of value on this slate. Okay with that. And then Wright, it looks like he's seeing decent ownership. Again, lacking value with them having, he should have decent minutes at 20. He should see at least 21 minutes or 20 minutes in the spot. I'm okay with it, but I don't really want more than 25% at this point in time. Next up, we have the Cavs. I know you like this team. Do you want to talk about it?
Yep. So I'll start with the shocker. I love Mitchell tonight. He'll probably be a core play for me. I know he let us down last time in this matchup, but I mean, he sat the whole fourth quarter. So there's a chance of that happening again, but this matchup is just too good for him. And 9,500 is still a good price. So I'll have a lot of Mitchell tonight. Jared Allen, I'm probably going to have a lot of him. Like, he's probably playing his best basketball he ever has in his whole career right now. And I don't know what's gotten into him, but I like it. Even with him sitting out in that fourth quarter, I think he put up like 56 points or 55, somewhere around there. So he's playing elite basketball right now. So love him as well. Merrill, I just want to, I'm going to give I don't like to do it, but I'm going to give myself a pat on the back because I had 85%
You deserve it.
Merrill. I know everybody was scared of him, but I say it all the time, like, especially these like risky, cheap guys, if they're in a good matchup, I don't mind going there. But with that being said, I'm not going to have that much Merrill tonight. I'm okay if I'm like around Phil Wade, but I'll take getting him right the first time. I'm not going to try to chase that too much. And then as far as like guys like LeVert and Strus, I'm okay if they show up in the mix, but again, they won't be much of a priority for me. So mainly priorities will be Mitchell and Allen.
Yep, I agree. Donovan Mitchell, I have a like on him. I'm totally fine with him showing up however much he wants to. Jared Allen, we forced exposure to last time on the pre-lock show. If I have to do it, willing to do that again. I can guarantee I'll at least be 30%. I'll have at least 30% Jared Allen, and ideally I'll have way more. Like you, Strus, LeVert, streaky shooters, I'm okay with them showing up a little bit, but they're not priorities for me. The Wizards are an awful defense. Everyone knows that. So I'm not really overly concerned about matchups at this point. Sam and Tristan Thompson are your blowout guys. If you expect this game to blow out, they are more viable. If you expect the game to stay close, less viable. For me, I don't play for blowouts, but again, we're lacking value. So I expect these guys to show up a decent amount in my lines by the time we get to the pre-lock show, but I will limit them. I'll make sure I don't have too much exposure to them, but I'll still have leverage on them just like last time. So we will go from there. All right. Now we have the Hornets going up against the Bulls in one of the lower total games on the slate. Typically a game I don't like forcing exposure to, but what's your game plan here, Brandon?
Just Rozier for me. Like, this team as a whole is so bad, but Rozier has just been super consistent. So I don't mind going around Phil Wade. I'm probably going to put a 10% min on him and move on from this team.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I think you can also look at Miles Bridges. He's been in pretty good form as of late. 47 against Denver, 43 against Sacramento in the last game. So I think he's definitely viable. But again, not someone I'm looking to go out of my way to prioritize here. It's really just Terry as of right now. Now, the Bulls are where things get a little bit more snippy. I know I started to see some reports that looks like Vucevic is going to play. I believe Zach LaVine. Have we seen any news on him yet?
Yeah, it's looking like he's going to play too.
Yeah. So it looks like these guys are going to play. I saw someone mention that potentially Vucevic will come off the bench. I haven't seen that yet. Have you?
Yeah. He's going to be on a minutes limit coming off the bench. So they pretty much just made it easy to not play this team.
Man, that's a bit of a buzzkill because I love playing bigs against the Hornets. I
was ready to play Vooch too, but once I saw he was on a limit and coming off the bench, I kind of threw that out the window. And then Drummond's too expensive now in this situation.
Way too expensive. I would, if Vucevic was starting and on a minutes limit, I would still do it, to be honest. But him coming off the bench makes that a hard pass for me.
Yep.
Jax, that's sad, man. I hope we can turn it around here soon. Poole said, Poole definitely looked terrible, man. I don't think he would get benched, but it wouldn't shock me if he got benched. Do you think Poole would get benched? They don't have anyone else.
Nah, I don't see them benching him.
Yeah, I'm sure they want to trade him, but I don't think they can do that either. Appreciate you, Daniel. Hope you're doing well, man. Yep, finally he did. Good call. All right, let's see. For me, I think this team's a pass. Did you give DeMar any thought, DeMar DeRozan?
Not really, especially with LaVine back in the mix. This whole team is a fade for me.
Yeah, I want to look a little bit closer at DeRozan just because it's a super soft matchup. He hasn't been that great as of late, but I think he's viable. It's getting a little too cute in my opinion, but I don't hate the spot. All right, next up we have the Clippers. And for me, them going up against the Pelicans, decent game total at 230, close spread. Unfortunately, no one's really standing out for me here at this point. They are all relatively low owned. I think the guys you would look at here are Kawhi, Harden, PG. Do you have a lean towards any of the three?
Nobody's really standing out for me here. But if I wanted to force anybody in and just target one guy, it would probably be Kawhi, just because he's been in really good form and has been smashing as of late. So he'd be the one guy I want to target, but this game as a whole, it's not appealing to me.
Yeah, we don't see the Clippers too much anymore in DFS because of the way things are. I kind of miss the Lakers and playing AD, not going to lie. But even though the Clippers are on the slate, I'm not looking to force exposure to them as of right now. It's just nothing really pointing me in that direction, but that could change. I do like the low ownership. Oh,
I was just going to say, I saw a tweet last night, which I didn't realize they were on this good of a run, but they're on like a crazy 15-2 run right now.
Yeah. And they're balanced, which is why it's a little hard to get too excited about them from a DFS standpoint right now. Another team that's pretty healthy outside of, Trey Murphy being questionable, are the Pelicans. I have a similar issue with this team. When they're all healthy, pretty balanced, any one of them can go off, but there's not anything pointing me towards any one of these guys in particular. Do you feel differently here?
No, it's another team I kind of just moved on from. I don't think I can force anybody in here.
Yeah. I mean, Zion did burn us last time around, and I do like going back to people who burned me. But again, there's nothing pointing me to do that outside of just that general philosophy. So I think it's a pretty easy pass for now. Another game, not overly excited about. Timberwolves. Looks like Karl Anthony Towns is looking pretty chalky at 7,200. Did you consider him at all?
Well, I saw his price tag and I was like, damn, that's a pretty good price on him because he's been around that 8 to 9K range. But if you look at how he's been performing, he has not been good at all. So him being this chalky is going to be probably a pretty easy fade for me tonight. I might have a little bit, but I'm definitely not going to be at or over the field on him, especially against the Rockets, who have been a better defensive team. And this is the lowest game total on the slate too. So that's chalk I'm not eating tonight. This team as a whole, I'm not really too interested.
Phil, you're not wrong. That's the crazy part, is you are not wrong. That might be Poole's future job. And take down. That's actually just good life advice. Good to not take back exes. You broke up for a reason. Move on. Yeah, we'll see, Power. We'll see. I don't think you're wrong though. I already like Kyrie, but we'll get to that game here soon. Yeah, for me, I think Karl Anthony Towns is a tough call for me at this point because I think he's priced appropriately, which is the wild part. But we do know the ceiling is still there. He still has 40, 50 point upside. He had a 40-point game, literally just the game before last against the Knicks, which at his price tag is pretty much what we're looking for. In good matchups, he has 70, 60 point upside. The Rockets aren't a great matchup anymore. They've improved a good bit defensively, but I'm also still not afraid of them. The ownership is really what has me concerned. 22% on a guy that we know is just not in the best form as of right now concerns me. So because of his price tag, because of the lack of value, I'm okay having exposure to him. But if Luka ends up actually getting ruled out, we have a little bit more value on this slate, a little bit easier for me to fade Cat. So I don't disagree with you, Brandon, but I'm also kind of afraid to fade him. So we'll see. I think Anthony Edwards is probably the only other guy I'll be looking at here. I'm not looking at Rudy or Conley or Reed or really anyone else on this team. Next up, we have the Rockets, a team that we've been playing a good bit of lately. I feel like this is when I'm jumping off the train. I do think Şengün could still be viable. I love the low ownership on him, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to say I usually always take my shots on Şengün and Van Vliet, but tonight might be the night where I don't do that. Like I said, I don't like this game as a whole, and I don't like picking on the Timberwolves either. So I think it's just going to be a low-scoring game and no one really good DFS-wise. So I'm okay with kind of skipping over this game, to be honest.
Yeah, same here. All right, now things get a little bit more interesting. But first, we'll start off with what's not as interesting. We have the Trailblazers going up against the Mavericks. Jabari Walker's doubtful. He's been playing decent minutes here lately, so definitely more of a viable. It does open up a few plays potentially. DeAndre Ayton's out. Moses Brown is out. Robert Williams has been out for a while now. Brendan, how are you thinking about the Trailblazers tonight?
So Reith is one guy I'm probably going to prioritize here. I think they start Baji again, but we know how bad he is, especially what he did to us last slate. That's just unforgivable. And he can't stop fouling. Like he's just trash. So I think Reith is gonna
Tell me how you really feel, man.
Yeah. Reith is going to be the guy here. I think that they go to mainly at the center position. I hope at least, but the way they've been playing, who knows at this point. And then as far as these other guys, I could maybe get down with some Scoot, but probably not too much. I'm okay with being close to field weight. And then, yeah, the rest of the team's going to be hard to play.
Yeah. I think, again, I'm a little biased because I was out on Wednesday, so I pivoted to Bull. I didn't get hurt by Baji as much. But if Baji starts, I'm willing to have a little bit of exposure to him. I like playing bigs against the Mavs, especially with Lively out. So I would probably have like 5 to 10% exposure to Baji if he's super low owned. If he's higher, I'm okay matching the field on him as well. He sucked last time he got into foul trouble, but he's had some flashes of upside historically, so I'm okay going back there. And then Reap is definitely the priority here. He's the guy who's more consistent. He is a bit more, way more viable in this spot. And again, we like playing bigs against the Mavs, especially when Lively is out. So I'm comfortable with that as a play. Scoot is priced appropriately. We know he has upside in this spot. I don't like the ownership. And especially with Sharp, Brogdon, Simons playing, it's really hard for me to prioritize Scoot here. So if he shows up naturally, it's fine, but he's not someone I'm excited to play tonight. All right. Moving on, we have the Mavericks. Brandon, do you have any updates on the news for the Mavs? I think I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah, Luka is questionable now. And Exum is
I know Derek.
out.
Okay, and I know Derek Lively is questionable. Grant Williams is questionable. Markieff Morris is questionable. And then you're right, Exum is out. Holmes is out. Kleber's been out for a while. So a lot of this team will depend on injury news. But if Luka doesn't play, which I think most of us are assuming he won't play at this point because of the late questionable tag, then that's a huge boost to Irving. I would like Tim Hardaway way more. Would have a little bit of interest maybe in Hardy, but what do you think? How are you looking at the Mavs right now?
Yeah, so if Luka is out, I think it's safe to say that Kyrie will probably be a core play for sure. Josh Green he falls into that category of a gross cheap guy. But kind of like I mentioned with Merrill, if the price is okay and the matchup is good, he's going to be somebody I don't mind going to. And you can play him at small forward and power forward, which we don't have that much value at that position. So that kind of explains why he's so chalky. So that doesn't really surprise me. If Luka's out, I wouldn't mind getting to some Hardaway at 6K in this matchup. And like you mentioned, I guess I wouldn't mind some Hardy as well. He should pick up some more minutes, and 4,400 isn't a bad price for him either. So those are kind of the main guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, and there could be some other guys that stand out too. Once we have like the official list of guys who are going to miss, it'll be a little bit easier to figure out who sees the actual increase in usage. But right now, they just have a lot of guys questionable, so it's a little hard to pin down too much. Daniel, I'm playing a little bit of Baji tonight if he starts, but again, I'm not going crazy with it. He has been awful, and his foul trouble has been concerning. So understandable why no one else is playing him, but I haven't really played him yet, so it's a little bit easier for me to say that. Hasn't hurt me yet. So next up, we have the Magic going up against the Nuggets. For the Magic tonight, we have another team with quite a few injuries. Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable. Franz Wagner is out. Markel Fultz out. Jonathan Isaac's been out. Ingles out. Gary Harris has been out for a little bit now too. Brennan, do you like the Magic? It's weird that they're not seeing too much exposure with as many injuries that they have. Kind of.
Yeah, when you look at their injury report, you would think, we probably going to have some nice value here. But some of these guys are already priced up. Like Caleb Houston, he should be the one to benefit with Franz out. But he's at 4,800, and that's hard price to pay for somebody like him. So this team as a whole is just not a good spot for him. Only guy that is piquing my interest is Paolo, and I'm okay with being around Phil Wade. But yeah, these other guys, maybe I'll say if Wendell ends up being out, I might have slight interest in Goga, but that's still kind of a stretch in this matchup. I just don't like this situation for the Magic at all.
Yeah, the concern here, and we talked about it yesterday, this is the back end of a back-to-back for the Nuggets. Nuggets play at a slow pace. They're a good defense. Hard for a lot of guys to have ceiling performances in spots like this, but it's not impossible. The one guy I do like here is Paolo, just because of the increase in usage he sees with guys like Franz out and just more opportunities for this team. Another guy that I wouldn't hate having some exposure to is Jalen Suggs. We just know the ceiling he can have, and with less usage from Franz, it wouldn't shock me if he's a little bit more aggressive in this spot tonight too. So those are really the two guys I'm really looking at tonight. Goga, I'll be okay having some exposure to, but I would probably still be under the field if Carter ended up getting ruled out. I just think he's priced appropriately, even for him seeing 30 plus minutes at this point. All right, next up we have the Nuggets. Like I said, back end of a back-to-back. Wouldn't shock me if they decide to sit someone. They had a pretty close, intense, good game last night, which was nice to see. But as of right now, no one's really on the injury report. Is anyone standing out for you here?
First, I want to say that game winner by Jokic was just crazy. Like, yeah, that was wild. And that like screen, that still shot on Curry's face, like after that happened, it was priceless. It was hilarious. But anyways, yeah, I'm kind of factoring that game last night into it. And Orlando's not a team I like to. They're not usually a good matchup. I like targeting either. So it's looking like this side of the ball is going to be kind of a fade for me here. I usually don't mind taking shots on Jokic, Murray, and sometimes Gordon and PJ, but I don't think I'm going to do that tonight.
Yeah. Embiid's my priority when it comes to the bigs tonight. But if Wendell Carter Jr. is out, this is a super soft matchup for Jokic, and it's softer than it appears on paper already because of some of the guys that the Magic have out, but still hard to prioritize back end of a back-to-back for them. I do think they still win this game pretty handedly, but it's tough. But if Jokic is going to be if he's going to be 1% owned, I'll have at least 5 to 10% if I can. Last game on the slate, we have the Miami Heat going up against the Suns. On the Heat side of things, from an injury news standpoint, we already know Jimmy Butler is going to be out. Caleb Martin is doubtful. Highsmith is out. What's your game plan here, Brandon?
Really, only one guy is standing out for me, and just due to the lack of value we have, and I'm honestly surprised he's not higher owned. That's Jovic. He started last game. I think he saw 28 minutes and put up 30 points. With all these guys still out, I'm willing to go back there again, especially if he starts again. So he's going to be I think my main priority here.
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable with him. And the ownership's not that bad either. At 4,400, it makes sense for him to show up a little bit. Might have to force him in. It looks like he's not projecting that well, but I agree. I like the spot. And then the one guy I do like is Tyler Hero. Again, with Jimmy Butler out, we know the upside's there. We haven't seen it as much since he's returned from the injury. He hasn't been bad by any means. He's had 30, 40-point performances from a fantasy perspective. We just haven't seen that 50, 60-point upside like we'll need for a tournament takedown. But with Jimmy Butler out, Hero still sees the highest increase in usage. He's going to shoot. He's going to play minutes. He's a streaky shooter. On a slate like this, I can get 5% exposure to Hero and have decent leverage. So that's how I'm probably going to play it here. And then for the Suns, we have questionable tags. Kevin Durant's questionable. Eric Gordon is questionable. Little is questionable. A little hard to get overly excited about anyone at this point. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this side of the ball is kind of dependent on if KD plays or not. If he's out, I don't mind taking shots on Booker and Bill, more so Booker. But if he plays, I don't have too much interest here.
Yeah, I agree 110%. If Durant misses this game, I think Booker's interesting. Beal, I am not as interested in, especially if KD plays, but if Durant's out, Beal would be a fine play. Beal's another guy, though, who's just lacking some upside. He's been a bit more consistent with his 30-point performances, which is nice to see. A little bit less scary of a play, but the upside hasn't been there as recently. But if KD's out, I'm willing to take a shot once again and go there and hope he doesn't kill me. Outside of that, did you give Nurkic any thought?
I was thinking about it, but with Bam playing,
Yeah.
I don't think I can get there.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I think he's interesting at the price tag. 7,100 is just a little cheap, but the
Yeah.
matchup isn't great. So, yeah, interesting. Large slate on deck. I think we have the games we want to target. Atlanta, Pacers game. I know we like Cleveland. Any other games that stand out for you? I know we like the Mavericks a good bit as well.
Yeah, those are kind of the main games for me as well.
Yeah. And I forgot what you said about the Thunder when it came to like Chet and Giddy. Did you said you really want to focus on SGA, right?
Yeah, yep, just
Yeah.
SGA for me.
Okay, cool. Hey, well, everyone, I appreciate you for sticking around with us. Large slate, slightly longer show. Of course, we will both be back for the pre-lock show. If you're interested in that, link is in the description. Promo code BDUBB, BDUB for a 10% discount on that. And then we will be back next Monday to talk through how the weekend went with NFL and to get us ready for whatever NBA brings. One thing, there will be no shows next Tuesday. I have a work meeting I have to go to. So that will be another no stream day. But anyway, let's make it happen today. Good luck, y'all. See you for the pre-luck show. Peace out.